I like all the things natural around me, even though I am in a city, and I would like to have all kind of animals, everything around in the ecosystem we are living in. Of course, there is a little bit of learning and practices you need. For example, when the entire area people are putting fire to the grass, and when my plot is having water presence, it is a tendency that almost all type of snakes come to this plot. We learned how to live with that. Even our we can detect our adopted dog from the road. Yeah, when he barks, we know there is a snake in front of him because he makes a sound to reverberate on the floor. So like that, you have to adapt to the ecosystem to live with it, but it is very enjoyable. Like, you need more than 24 hours to finish observing things around this. So that's the enjoyment part of it.
So that's our guest, Neel Mathews, on what excites him to do the work he does. Hello and welcome to the Mission Shunya podcast. And I am Girish Shivakumar, your host. As always, I'm pretty excited to bring to you yet another story, yet another podcast episode. This time, it's an interesting story of an individual who has embraced sustainability and taken it to a next level. Hello, Neil. Welcome to the Mission Shunya podcast.
Thank you, Girish.
Can you give us a brief background for all the listeners?
I'm Neel Mathews. I'm an enthusiast in all kind of engineering work. Started my conscious journey in the engineering field from the age of about 12, when I made my first radio. And I was enthused by all type of engineering: carpentry, masonry, blacksmith. So all my village experts in these respective areas were my gurus. I used to spend my whole after school time sitting with them in their workshops. And over a period of time, I realized nature is the most crucial thing for us to live, and the importance of it. I am from a village also, so I want to dedicate my life forward into that direction.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for this short story of your journey. As you know, the reason I got in touch with you is because I have known you for quite some time, and your work in the sustainability space has really caught everyone's attention, and including mine. And for you, sustainability is a choice and it's a lifestyle. So, how did you start thinking about living a sustainable life?
Basically, I used to think telling about sustainability or spreading a message in the internet, email, and in the friendly talks, even speeches, that's all very easy, actually. The biggest thing is practicing it. So, if you look at ourselves consciously, I think the very first thing is taming ourselves is very difficult. Then telling our wife or husband and children, that immediate family members, and converting them. I think after that it will happen automatically. But what people try to do is by talking and messaging and writing, speaking, we are trying to make everybody follow, which doesn't happen. I learned this at a quite young age. So I believe in converting individual, the me first, and showing as a model.
It is important to note that how Neil emphasizes on the need to be the change one wants to see. He doesn't want to be seen as an advocate of a certain type of lifestyle, but rather practice whatever he believes in. So, how did he get started in implementing sustainable practices while building a house?
I am an electronics engineer by profession. In 2001, I was blessed to purchase a small piece of land and build a house. We had no fans, and there was only one exhaust fan, which used to suck the entire hot air from the house through the staircase. I mean, staircase acted as a, like, basically a chimney, And that's how the first experiment started. And we lived in that house for 10 years. We also made a rainwater harvesting well. Basically, it was directly recharging the groundwater. And my very surprising and sad experience there was like when I built that house, that was a single house in that locality. And whenever rain came, that water flooded in the well. We could go and just take water with hand, no need of a bucket itself. But later, suddenly, so many other houses came around, and each house dug one borewell each. What happened is this well water stopped coming up, and after about 1 or 2 years, I thought of digging a little bit extra, and me and one helper went down into the well to see where the water is. When we stepped into the sand, the sand started going like a soft, marshy land inside, and we caught on the rope and we both came up. So I understood the sand has loosened. So that later, when I studied, it is nothing but the phenomena called soil piping. So soil piping is that when people suck too much of water from the underground water bodies, earth kind of becomes over thirsty because whatever we are sucking is 50-year-old or 100, sometimes 1,000-year-old water which has gone from the rain. So what happens is from the surface of earth, and we have covered with various cladding, tiles, and so on. During rain, some point somewhere, water will find out a path into the water stream. So in this case, this well has like found a way of pumping water into the underground water. So when the water flows very fast, it will retain the sand, which is heavier part there, but the mud, which is the sticky part, will dissolve in water, which you see rainwater flowing on the ground. You will see the red color. That's because of the mud. So once that mud is gone, the sand is not having any sticking power. So that's when me and the assistant went down, that started giving up, and we got started going down the ground. And in Kerala, recently, after soon the flood and rain, you might have heard or read or experienced that many roads went down. That is nothing but the same phenomenon because people cut a lot of trees to make roads, and the trees root and base part is still remaining in the earth, and we will construct road. But termites and all will degrade that tree balance portions, and that will be a hollow hole. Actually, the roots will be reaching some of the water streams. Slowly, some rainwater will find a path through those holes to the water bodies, and eventually that will become more and more sand shape. And at one day, it will collapse, and it may be very like big, large sand pile which will collapse at 10 feet, 20 feet. The road dips, and in Bangalore like city, where more than 4 lakh registered bore wells, and something like 8 to 10 times unregistered we can expect are there. And so many flats are there. You think, if the soil piping suddenly start appearing, what could be the many flats may tilt. So actually, that's a big realization. I went around every house, told them, please do rainwater harvesting. Hardly only one house I still remember in that layout has done rainwater storage and using it. Oh, nobody else listened. But people kept on digging boreholes. That was the first house with which I got the intense feeling of how badly the nature is being treated. That's in 2001.
At this point, I would like to highlight the fact that Bengaluru is one of the most water stressed cities in the world today. The taps in the city are expected to dry up pretty soon if adequate water conservation measures are not taken. One of the main reasons for this water stress is because of the increased borewells that have gone underground. Borewells have gone up to pump water to the high rises that have come up in the city in the last couple of decades. So Neil in fact anticipated this problem nearly 2 decades back when he first saw that his borewell was running dry, or rather his well was running dry. And the Kerala floods that he mentions happened recently where heavy rains caused severe destruction, which led to roads caving in at different parts of the Indian state of Kerala. So, 15 years after he first saw that his well was running dry, Neil actually was fortunate enough to start building a second house in the city. So, how did Neil prepare for that?
So I had repeatedly used to make notes all this 13 years or so. So based on those notes, this new house which was designed, and this house is built, and we are staying here since 2015.
So, what are the best water conservation practices that he has incorporated?
So this house has rainwater harvesting of about 65, 70,000 liter water is stored. There's underground storage of about 50, 60,000 liter. Then compound walls are also water tank, probably first in the world, which has about 16,000 liter rainwater stored in the compound wall tank. And we are actually growing fish in that.
Yes, you heard it right. Bottles as compound walls. I once again remind you to check the social media pages of Mission Shunya for the links to the photograph of his house. So, how did Neil decide on using bottles for compound walls?
Bottles are one strong engineering structure what we create, but the its strength is only used for porting that liquid or the material which is contained by that. But after that, glass bottles are crushed and remade, or plastic bottles are destroyed and reused, sometimes piled in the dump yards. So I choose this those days. Nandini or the milk supply companies have flavored milk bottles plenty. It will be lying near every bunk shop. So I collected that, started collecting that. Then I contacted some of these rack pickers, and whatever they get 60, 75 for that. I used to pay 2 rupees or so, and I took it and washed and stick them together with multiple things. And finally, I arrived that silicone gum sticks them well. So I made a 9 into 7 matrix, one brick, which is joined together and formed the compound wall. Then it is topped with the broken granite pieces on both sides, and the center is cemented, so that in that we put water and some algae, so that that becomes water area for the squirrels and birds, etc. And the algae prevents the water evaporation.
Talking of water, I believe your house is a water neutral residence.
Actually, I am having plenty of water because actually my house, there is no fan in this house also. We have underground air tanks which takes the air into the house, and those air tanks are not done with waterproofing. So it's only 6 or 7 feet below, and every day actually I get nearly 200, 300 liter water from those tanks, because the water level in my plot is quite high. The groundwater level is so high that I get 200, 300 liter water from the air tank, where I don't expect any water. That is a proof that the we can, by doing recharging, we can bring up the water level.
Neil's house is not only water positive, it is also energy positive. So, how has he managed to get there?
So first is like there is a large window towards the south side, that which is about 9 feet into 10 feet or so. That gives like good light into the house in the ground floor, which is the living floor, you can say. But if anybody is doing this, I have a suggestion. Please tilt the glass little bit towards the ground. So somebody can contact me. I can advise. Basically, because I found if the sky is reflected, poor birds sometimes tend to come and fight with, or sometimes come and hit the glass. So I put a curtain and avoid them coming towards that. But because of that window, the entire ground floor is well lit throughout the day. So actually, morning 6:30 to evening 6:30, We don't need any light inside any part of the house. So that is one thing. Second thing is there are solar panels on the roof, which gives a shadow to the house. So it is an umbrella, and it gives electricity. Plus, the parapet walls are made with holes so that there is cross ventilation on the terrace. So altogether, there are no fans, and now everybody will ask whether we feel heat anytime. So in the April last 2 weeks and May first week, probably we will feel when actually there is no air movement. You can see all the leaves of plants will be still. During that time, we get a little feel of temperature, but otherwise the house is always pleasant and people enjoy living in it. There is no electric chimney as well, so there is no noise, and even the kitchen space looks more spacious.
The other aspect that you've really taken into consideration is spacing. But at this point, I also would like to remind that agriculture, or rather growing plants, has also been a key factor that you're considered. For example, there is a garden in the entrance, and also there is a garden in the terrace. So I think that adds to the entire ecosystem, right?
One thing, just I want to especially mention, people will say that the site is big, so you can do that. But actually, that's also like by blessing, I believe it has come to me. But the house design is basically in 25 feet into 35 feet. That means most popular building construction sites in cities are 30 feet into 40 feet. So this house design as such, it can be copied and put into anybody want to design in a normal plot size. And within that space itself, I want to show that we can grow plants. That's why I grew plants even in the terrace. We even tried a vertical garden.
That is a very interesting aspect that you're bringing. So the vertical gardens are really gaining popularity recently in recent times. Neil, house is just one part of your sustainable livelihood, sustainable living, if I would like to say. The other key aspect is even your mobility is very sustainable. So you drive an electric car, if I'm right.
Yes,
So how did that happen?
I am driving electric car since 2011 when I joined the Mahindra Reva. That time Reva was just acquired by Mahindra, and I found the electric car is so much comfortable to drive, and you feel very homely when you enter to that and just drive on. So then we sold our diesel car, and soon the E2O was out. We bought that also. So we are totally electric. Like charging is also mostly happening in home because I have surplus electricity from my roof. From that, the charging happens. The balance, whatever I am exporting, I am getting money from the government. And occasionally, if I need a little long drive, I rent a car. There are plenty of rental car models coming up. So the thing is, being a complete sense means like I am actually showing a model to my children, their friends, their schools, colleges, and to the society. That way, I am leading a silent revolution. That being knowing that is a big happiness.
Did you recognize the pride in Neil's voice when he says that he wants to be a model for his children? Also, you wouldn't have missed the point when Neil mentions about renting a car for the occasional long drives. As a regular listener of the Mission Shunya podcast, you would probably remember that I have mentioned this point a few times in the previous episodes. The total cost of ownership of an electric car is low, and it fits the bill for your use 95% of the time. For the remaining time, you can use a rented car just like how Neil does. Range is not a problem, period. Now, on asking about his first tip for anyone to get started, this is what he had to say.
The very first thing is being eco-friendly is just actually speaking, it is going back to the nature. I mean, whatever I would not say that we are going back into the level of life of living inside the forest or something, but certainly something about 50 to 80 years back. where the family was very strong and we had a lot of care for everything. Like I remember my grandfather or my father will never leave the table if I am having some rice left in my plate until I finish. So they taught that you cannot even waste one grain. So that is the level they taught, and they considered it is precious. Okay, so that is the first realization which starts the eco life. And same thing now, next level, if you see, you I have some 5 or 10 shirts, but actually if that some loud shirts and pants, if it comes back after washing and ironing, certainly I am going to wear that only. So beyond that, whatever is very less used, give to somebody, so that you will save space and you can enjoy that space, and you can enjoy seeing somebody else being happy. So slowly we realize, by being nature is, being just like nature is not giving anything for getting anything return from us. It is totally want we not to hurt it, but it keep on giving. So just to slowly adopt that principles, we will enjoy doing that, and we will see, like now in front of my house there are squirrels and birds fighting for some water area, and seeing that, we can see the language. One says this is mine, and just simply watching that itself is big enjoyment.
That is wonderful, Neil. So, give more to receive more is a wonderful message that you have conveyed. I've had the pleasure of interacting with you and getting to know more about how you started with sustainability and others. So, on a final note, if someone would like to get in touch with you, know more about it, and get to know how to start implementing these practices at work, at residences, how do they reach you?
One thing is I have, because my life is lab, so I named it lifeislab.com is a site I started, thought of sharing my experiences. Then I can give my mail ID, and if required, somebody can contact me over phone. And if further required, somebody can visit my house. Almost 2,500 people visited. Every Sunday afternoon, I used to leave some time for visitors. So these are all possibilities, but please plan, because I also lose lot of time with visitors like that. But I certainly want everybody to copy and grow bigger than me in this area, so that I can learn from them.
That is a wonderful initiative, Neil. I will definitely share the link to your site and also connect you with people on through your email ID. I will do that on the show notes section so that people can write you an email and get to know more from you. So, Neil, thanks for taking time. Thanks for taking time to share your views about sustainability and your experience and journey in this space. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Girish. It is really good initiative you are doing in this area.
And that brings to end yet another episode of the Mission Junior podcast. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did recording the interview with Neel Mathews. If you want to know more about Neel, you can reach out to him directly on his website, or you can write to me at missionchunya@gmail.com. I'll make the personal connection for you, the listener. Neel is always welcome to share tips and probably give you more inputs on building a sustainable house or adopting sustainability practices in your regular lifestyle. And if you know someone like Neel, who's also a passionate enthusiast in the space and who has some interesting story to share, do let me know. You can reach out to me on the social media pages of Mission Chunya. Go by the handle at Mission Chunya. You can also drop the contact details on the website missionchunya.com/contact. And the other best thing that you can do is to share the podcast to a friend or colleague. It helps spread the word and it ensures it reaches a wider audience. Thanks to everyone who's left the podcast a rating on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and other platforms. It's definitely got more downloads in the recent weeks, and I hope the message has reached a wider audience. So, until next time, signing off, this is Mission Chunya towards a zero carbon economy.